All right. Hey, guys, what's up? Welcome to the Ask An Enemy Playcast for March the 27th. I'm joined by my buddy here, Brett Cutler.
Hey, everybody.
Brett is a game designer. I met him when I was up at, was it 17-bit? Was that the first time we met, or did I meet you
Yeah,
at
you were
GDC
here.
also?
I think it was at PAX Prime last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because last year, if it was last year, it was during Unite. I was at Unite. Like, PAX, I
Oh,
think,
sure.
was, yeah, right after that. So.
Well, if they're being nice to all of us, they schedule them at the same time.
Right? Yeah, like this year, man, with GDC and PAX, what was it? PAX
Oh,
East, yeah, at the exact same
yeah.
time. Well, pretty much. I
Well,
mean,
they want to get it so that like the sickness from GDC can travel across the country to Boston.
yeah, totally, man.
Yeah.
And then what? The weather was all fucked up too, so that was all
Oh,
over
not
the
good.
place, man. Yeah.
Not good. But if we keep getting more PAXs, we can we'll be able to schedule a world trip through
yeah.
PAXs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, fuck, man. What is it? They're up at like 4 PAXs already.
Yeah, there's Australia and Texas
Yeah.
now.
I actually went to South this year, man. South was pretty
Is
rad.
that pretty good?
Yeah, it was my first
That
PAX
was
actually.
like they scheduled that across from another convention, though, didn't they?
Um,
Uh,
well, I mean, not that I'm aware of. Probably.
hmm.
I'm not 100% sure.
Well, it's cool
But
though. We've got the East Coast, and that there's development in the South and Texas and stuff,
yeah, totally.
and it helps to have that community support in the East,
Right,
especially since it's so expensive. There's not a ton of game development there.
right, yeah. And I mean, I guess most of it seems to be like I guess concentrated in like Austin or something.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, if I remember correctly, most of like the indie games that were at PAX South were mostly Texas people, or within
that's
that
cool.
within that region. So I personally wasn't familiar with too many of them. But yeah, it was rad, man. It was cool. I didn't see any
Sounds good,
Galaxy there, but
dude. We had to finish the game.
yeah, right. Yeah, totally, man. I know Zach was saying the same thing. So yeah, let me introduce you, of course, man. So this is my boy Brett Cutler. He was game designer most recently, right, on Galaxy.
Yep.
Also, Skulls of the Shogun. I know you were credited
Did a little
in that
bit.
event. Okay,
Yeah, just some extra features after launch.
cool. Yeah. What else have you done besides that, man?
I had a game at IGF a couple years ago about a computer program going insane.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty good. It started pulling files from your hard drive and showing them to you and having to delete them.
I
Uh,
think you were telling me about that. That's fucking crazy.
you can, if you have their trust, it's not too hard. And once you get like emotionally invested in a game,
Right.
uh, you can pull some tricks. It's kind of, I guess it was kind of before the glitch aesthetic, because that was like 2011. But that's become kind of a big thing these days.
Yeah. Huh.
I'm not
Weird.
I'm not taking credit for it or anything. I'm just saying.
Right, right. Well, yeah, I mean, dude, like, regardless, I mean, you've worked on Galaxy, Skulls of the Shogun, and those are, like, two, in my opinion, like, pretty AAA indie games, you know what I mean? Like, I've never been a fan of the whole, separate them by, like, AAA, this and that. Unless you're, like,
Sure.
fucking Battlefield, then, yeah, it's obvious they're spending fucking millions of dollars on that, right? But,
I think like indies are self-sorting in that kind of way though. You're
yeah,
getting like 17-bit cares deeply about production values, and so you reduce the scope of your game. You're like, okay, we've only got 3+3 wizard units in Skulls of the Shogun, so it can all fit in that sort of development period.
right,
But then all the art, like what art there is, has to be super polished,
right.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is actually kind of weird because I know the camera's over here and I want to look at you, but I'm looking at you on this screen. So yeah, it's not like I'm ignoring you or anything, man. I'm actually looking at you over here. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the mindset for like a Skulls of the Shogun. I still obviously gave it a chance and I supported it. I bought it like on Xbox One. I bought it on my Surface, and I still go back to it time and time again. But like, I don't know. It's just games like that tend to take a lot from me, like obviously it's not
Sure.
on the StarCraft 2 level, but I try to get into that also. I mean, one could argue maybe it is. I just don't have the mind space for those types of games, man. But I always see them as super fucking cool. Is that something like, what's your
So
game design like style? Like what's your primary kind of thing?
I really like action games. Like working on Galaxy was really nice for that because there's a lot of small pieces of lore that action games kind of pass down. Like you hear all the stuff that Vlambeer talks about when they're
Fuck
spreading
yeah.
the law of screen shake, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
there's just a lot of good pieces of feedback and what makes making stuff blow up feel really good.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. I'll totally agree with that. Absolutely.
That's
100%.
important.
Yeah.
But then I like to, I mean, you'll hear this from a lot of people, but wrapping that in a narrative sense that fits the gameplay that you're doing.
Yeah.
When I was talking about Nous earlier, the whole idea was that because the graphics were abstract, it could recontextualize what you're doing. It'd say, I'm a boot camp instructor, and like these are military targets that you need to take down. And so it's framed within an action game, but it would keep switching up the context of what it's doing and trying to frame why you play in some sort of meaning. That's the sort of thing that's really important to me. And in games, we have a lot of tools that we don't really have in non-participatory media. So
Right.
a game can directly talk to the player. You can actually ask the player a question. And you can even, as a game designer, you can put yourself in there and say, hey, how are you feeling? How are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not exactly fourth wall breaking, because that's like there's a handshake that already goes on when you start to play a game where you know it's fictional. You're immersing yourself in the setting, but you're also interacting with these mechanics that support it. So you're always aware that it's a game, and we can play with that line really well.
Right, yeah, totally. Well, and that's super fitting that we're playing Bloodborne, because I think Bloodborne like totally speaks to that type of just how someone can jump into something and they don't necessarily like handhold you.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, like
But there's a lot of design that's
Right.
going to do it without textually telling you. We
Right.
can definitely talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even yeah, we could get into that in a little bit, of course. But yeah, just the idea of like even when your character wakes up and it doesn't even tell you use the left stick to move. You just kind of you just as the player, I would assume you
Sure.
just know that, So then it just we'll get into that in a bit, but for sure, man.
Okay, cool.
So for now, let's really quick. I just want to go over like anything that's been in the news this week, because that's another reason that I do this weekly show is to for myself, just kind of on a Friday go through the news, see what's going down. So we were talking right before we started about I don't know. I guess you could argue it's the biggest news of the week that Zelda is being delayed to. Well, I don't even think they said 2016. They just kind of said it's not coming in 2015. I mean, I guess a lot of people could see that coming, right? But
yeah. I guess it depends on what Nintendo needs.
right, yeah. I mean, because that's the whole thing is like if they said they were going to make it in 2015, but that just seemed more of like a let's try and get it in so that we could still sell more Wii U's.
Sure.
But if they push it to further, I'm sure you're familiar with the news that came out this week about them focusing more on like mobile.
They did a partnership with
DNA, is it?
No, it's the other one. Mobigay.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then, so in that same meeting, though, that was mostly all about their like mobile kind of initiative thing. But they also kind of went into their next system, like their next console, which I think they just named NX or something.
Unless it's like the DS, that's
Yeah.
probably just a prototype name.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I think it was Cliff Blazinski who posted on Twitter. He said that maybe they pushed it back because now it's going to be for the new console, which would suck because then they really just let the Wii U go.
Oh, do you think it's that early? I don't know if that would work.
I personally don't. Yeah.
And like they've been doing, especially with Zelda, in the last 10 years, they've been using it as we'll make the same Zelda structure. We've got dungeons, we've got a lot of the same items, but we'll use the unique platform features.
Right.
So the DS Zelda, you're drawing the path for the bombs, and you're drawing on your map and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wii one, it's like, okay, let's take Zelda, and then we can use a nunchuck to pull your bow, and we can do sword swings.
Right.
So I would imagine you would think they would be baking the tablet stuff pretty deeply into the new Zelda.
Yeah, you would totally think that, and based on what they showed, like at E3, granted that was more of like, did you see that demo where they had?
Oh, the forest thing.
Yeah, And then where they
Yeah.
started showing how open the world was going to be, and then Link got on like, I think it's Epona, the name of the fucking horse or whatever. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, exactly. So that was super interesting, but you know, who knows? Who knows what the fuck they're gonna do with Zelda now, man? Like, I don't know if I would even have the time to play a Zelda that's the size of a Skyrim. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and they've never. One thing that they've never been good at is the reward schedule. Like you've got your quest
Right.
items,
Right.
you've got your hard upgrades, but beyond that, all they can really give you is money.
Yeah.
So like they had the little loot thing in Skyward Sword where you'd get like monster parts,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not like Monster Hunter where you're actually upgrading your equipment all the time. They don't want that many numbers in combat, so they don't have very many ways to reward you for doing things, which is kind of a problem the longer they stretch out their games.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Is-
no. Go ahead, man.
Even on a basic level, like just the basic formula of getting heart pieces, they're less valuable as you get more of them. Like moving from 3 hearts to 4 hearts, you're like, oh man, that's 30% more health. And then moving from 18 hearts to 19 hearts barely makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, and then did you play the one on DS, like the 3DS, the recent one, Link Between Worlds?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah,
haven't
that
had a
was-
chance to touch that, but I've heard it's really, really good.
If you like the Super Nintendo one, it's like
Oh
it's
yeah.
a snappy. They're just there's some big structural things where they loosen up what order you need to go to the dungeons in, and I don't think
Right.
that's super important. I'm not sure that they're going to continue that with the whole you can rent whatever item you want,
Uh huh.
because at its core they're like, what if we went back to just go through dungeons? That's
Right.
nearly all the game. And in the big console ones nowadays, there's a lot of side quests. There's a lot of padding in between. Part of the problem, I think, is identifying what the core of Zelda is. Because you can say Mario is a game about jumping. Let's make a
Yeah.
jumping game and figure out, how that works. But Zelda, it's got combat, but it's not really hard combat. It's not super built out. It's there to kind of be a break in the pacing. It's got
Yeah.
puzzles, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
like puzzle game hard puzzles. It's got exploration, but it's not. So it's kind of this mixture of all the elements.
Right.
And it's got to be really well balanced and stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess that's why like the Super Nintendo one was probably the one I played the most when I was a kid, just because. I mean, it kind of goes to like this whole thing with the Bloodborne thing is like it doesn't really tell you the things you have to do. You just kind of through context figure out, cracking the
Sure.
wall. Oh, maybe a bomb would blow that up. Then you find a secret entrance and stuff like that. But yeah.
But they definitely tell you now. Of course, even back then, as soon as you figure that out
Right.
once, you've got all the rest of them are just recognize the pattern and do it again.
Right, and you could totally argue that I think they do it way too much in the new Zeldas.
Yeah.
Way too much. But so yeah, as far as like news goes, man, I a lot. That Zelda thing's a huge part in here. It's pretty much every single news outlet has that. I can't. Nothing else is really standing out to me. Is there anything that called your attention this week? You wanted to go over?
Mm-hmm.
No?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm drawing a blank here.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a slow week aside for really big announcements like that. So,
Sure.
all right, man. Well, I guess without further ado, let's jump on into some Bloodborne then.
All right.
So, Brett, I actually have to ask, will you teach me how to Bloodborne?
I've been playing Souls games for a long time, JC, let me tell you.
Nice. All right.
First one I played was actually the Hong Kong import. My friend had it, and this is like March of 2008 or so. I think Demon Souls came out in 2008, and it was like seeing the old Dungeons and Dragons monster manuals and stuff come to life. Like this is what I had always thought a real dungeon crawling game would feel like.
Right.
It didn't have the strained artificial steppiness of like wizardry, stuff like that. It's like, wow, this is actually scary. It's actually going to kill you. I actually have no idea what's around every corner, and that sold that feeling so well that I was hooked.
Right.
Then.
And the pretty much the Souls games have always been kind of like fantasy oriented, right? I mean, not like
Yeah, like
fantasy,
dark
fantasy,
fantasy.
but yeah. So it's kind of like magic and stuff like that.
Yeah, the reference that people talk about is Berserk, the manga series.
Right.
But it's just it's like you take D&D. I mean, they have a lot of D&D, like trademark D&D monsters.
There we go.
The squid heads and demon souls are straight from D&D.
Right. Okay.
But everything is, hopeless and sad and terrible.
All right. So yeah, this is my character, man. We'll start with my character. And for anyone who's watching that's not familiar with Bloodborne, how would you explain it to him, like in a brief explanation?
Share play as a host. I'm actually trying to get into your share play. Are you
Oh yeah.
streaming it right now?
I'll bring it up. Yeah.
Connecting to my.
Oh, give me a sec. Let me.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me. Have you
Okay.
jump in.
So, just to describe it at a high level, it's an action adventure game. It's got RPG elements. The RPG elements are there to help soften out the difficulty.
Uh-huh.
But the core of the game is to give this dungeon crawling feeling. So with Bloodborne, they change the setting. They move it to this kind of steampunky German fantasy feeling, and they've focused on ramping up the combat speed.
Okay.
There's a big emphasis on preventing the sort of behavior that made the game slower paced, more static before.
Okay. Part of screen.
Okay, I
And
see you as a share play visitor.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Then I'm in yours.
Yeah, I started it wondering if that would get me into your game.
Oh yeah. No.
But now
Okay.
I
So
just
go ahead and
gotta
cancel
enter.
yours. I'll start mine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll leave that
Stop
share
share.
play. Yeah. And then I'll share mine.
We are in the future.
Yeah. Dude, honestly, like this is something, Sony announced when they did when they first announced the fucking PlayStation 4 back in February of 2013? And that feature didn't come till maybe like 4 or 5 months ago.
Took them a while. They were lucky that they had the good press by not looking as stupid as Microsoft.
Oh,
For
yeah.
the first year.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like Microsoft, it seems, has been pretty good at actually doing software updates for the Xbox One, and Sony doesn't have that. They just don't have that deep of a bench of programmers to build up the OS software.
Right.
But by making nice decisions like not putting ads all over it, I can still like them more.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. I stopped using my 360 because I felt skeevy every time I turned it on, and there were like 3 video ads.
Right. Well, you know what? So it's probably because I'm streaming this that it won't let me share play because it says the connection's too slow.
Sure.
So we'll actually have to use yours after all.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
You want to start a new game?
Yeah, sure. Whatever doesn't fuck up your game, man. Because I know. How long have you been playing it for already?
Maybe 10, 12 hours?
Jeez. And well, in like Souls time, that's not really that much, is it?
They tend to build. Man, what do? They do like 15 to 20 levels, and that'll take you. A level takes an hour or 2
Okay.
to get through.
So answer me this then. Like, how do you level up? Well, specifically in Bloodborne, obviously, because
Yeah.
like last night, I've been playing for maybe, I don't know, maybe like I would say 3 hours max so far, because I just kind of wanted to jump in without anyone. Like, I didn't even read like tips or anything. I just like jumped right in. And I just, obviously I was getting killed left and right. I got the idea of their mechanics and how, they're very deliberate and slow on purpose and stuff. So I got all that.
Yeah.
But you were getting bloodstones, which I guess you use to level up your weapons. Do you use those for your armor and stuff also?
I haven't seen armor upgrading, though they used to have it. But you normally spend your experience, which they call blood echoes in this game.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm joining your game right now.
Sure, sounds good. The player is connected. Okay.
Yeah, and then this new recent upgrade here in the last day or so let you change the setting of share play also, so you could do it in like 60 frames a second. Like, I guess if the game supports it and your internet connection, I guess.
Sure. Let's start as someone suffering a cruel fate.
Yeah, so that is really cool, man. Like, I mean, their character creation is awesome, but is there really any difference to? Can you go to it real quick? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
okay.
all this stuff.
This is interesting because this is kind of cruft. So, I'll say cruft is, I mean, like, it's design things left over from earlier games that they haven't necessarily thought all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't totally fit on this. So, in all these games, you're pretty open in how you. I think so. Okay. I'm going to argue that.
Okay.
So in all these games, you're open in how you build your character. You can put your stats anywhere, though you can build a character to fit like a cleric or a wizard or a fighter type of build.
Mm-hmm.
That's not set by the beginning because you can just put the points wherever you want. However, they let you set what you start at. So in the other games, if you picked like a fighter, you'd start the game with a suit of armor and your stats would be set up. They assume that you've spent your first 5 levels building fighter abilities. If you started as a wizard, you'd get some spells as like pieces of equipment that your character automatically started with.
Okay.
So it'd give you kind of a head start towards the character that you wanted to build.
Mm-hmm.
In this game, they decided to not give you, like, all characters start the game with no equipment. They took control of the beginning equipment stage.
Right.
And so there's not a huge difference between these. These are just stat differences. As far as I know, there may be some random secret thing, but I don't think there is. So what that means is you are picking your starting stats. And if you look at the top right where it says level,
right,
they're all level 10 except for the bottom one. So they've all spent experience to get themselves to this point.
Okay.
So the military veteran has well-rounded stats, has more strength and more skill, and then less blood tinge and arcane. And what that means, they've simplified the stats in this game, and it's part of them moving closer towards an action game.
Okay.
And I think it's also part of them clearing the board. They added more stats between Demon Souls to Dark Souls 2.
Uh-huh.
And in order to get like a fresh start, I think they cleared a lot of that away so that they could have a base to build on in the future.
Huh.
So these...
I'm gonna say right now, I actually went with professional. Is that
sure?
I just kind of, it sounded cool the way military veteran sounded like a snake character, you know, like fucking Metal Gear Snake. But
I think that's actually, I think one of the biggest benefits they have from keeping this around is just a little bit of character building.
Okay.
Like, it doesn't affect. I mean, these stats really are not that big of a deal.
Right. Right.
So the ability to say, I want my character to be like this, and have the game kind of know that that's how you're building your character has value.
Okay.
Just having the game recognize something that the player is doing. Like, there's a difference between, in a game, if you were to type in a text box, this is the background of my character, or you pick something like this. Something like this, you're like, oh, the game knows what I'm like, and maybe it cares.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I guess I would assume that's why they kept it, even though it's not having a huge mechanical effect.
Right.
What's really funny is that they give you the blood echoes. The second stat is the amount of experience you start with.
Right.
Which this is like all trivial amounts.
Yeah, because that, I mean, now that I've played through and known what it costs to buy, like, you know, the blood vials or whatever. Yeah, that's you could waste that in like 2 vials of something, or even like 2 Molotovs.
It almost makes me wonder if they had a formula for calculating the value of these stats that they put them in, and then they're like, oh, just to even it out, we'll give you extra experience because this stat is better than this other one.
Right, right.
It's very strange that they actually changed the blood echoes that you start with.
Yeah. Well, and then go down to waste of skin, because I think that's fucking cool. You are nothing, talentless. You shouldn't have been born. That's fucking awesome, dude. I think that like totally sets the tone for the rest of the game, you know?
It's a cool way to start, and
yeah.
It was more interesting in the older games when it affected your equipment, because you could pick something that was the equivalent of this, and you would start completely naked.
Right.
Like no weapons, no armor, nothing. So then for the first 2 or 3 hours in the game, every single item that you picked up, you're like, wow, this is amazing. Whereas if you start with a full suit of armor, most of the stuff you pick up in the beginning, you're like, I have plate armor.
Right.
I don't need these rags.
Right, right.
But in this game, it just means that you start at a lower level than other characters, and the difference, because their experience goes up exponentially, like, you know, it'll cost like 300 experience to go from level 4 to 5.
Right.
It'll cost like 3,000 to go from level 10 to 11.
Okay.
So all that it really means is that you start with an experience deficit. And that cool thing where it says, where you can say, I'm a waste of skin.
Right.
So it's really the role playing that's
yeah,
valuable.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Let's be a waste of skin then.
Fuck yeah. But so with the old, like the Souls games, the old Souls games, like Dark Souls, your level was more based on your equipment then, right? It had nothing to do with your character?
No, it's your level is your character level. So
Okay,
every time you buy a stat, because you can just straight up you buy HP, you buy stamina, you buy stats that are prerequisites for weapons.
Okay.
That experience is also used to upgrade your weapons. It's that they don't have a separate gold currency.
Right.
There's only one currency, and you use it both to upgrade your level and to upgrade your equipment.
Okay. Go for
which, sure. Which helps, like, it simplifies things and it keeps the primacy of feeling freaked out when you lose your souls / blood important. Like, it just keeps that right at the forefront.
Right. And in terms of like the combat, which is like, you know, because I have some friends who would probably be interested in this, but, you know, at the face level, it's kind of like you would see it and you know, if you don't have any background on what these types of games are, you could easily see it being like a, you know, Shadow of Mordor kind of thing where like, you know, it's totally action and it's not in any way that.
Yeah, I think it's a real successor to like the NES Castlevanias.
Yeah, there you go.
And I didn't understand those games until after I played these. Like when I was a kid and I would play them, it would be
whatever happens,
what?
you may think it all a mere bad dream.
Sorry, I was bringing the volume down on the video.
Okay, I'm getting it. I don't know if there's an echo on Twitch right now, but
yeah, sorry, man.
That's cool. So
yeah, let me know if it's too
like,
loud, if you hear the echo or anything like that.
If I hear it from you, my assumption is that you're getting a double echo.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be my screen, so I'll put it down.
Sure. So old NES Castlevanias, you know, you when you jump, your course is set. You're on the stairs. The stairs. I mean, come on, they're so awkward to walk up and down, and then a bat comes, and like they have so many flying enemies, and you're so stiff and awkward.
Right.
Even swinging your whip, it takes like 3 frames from when you push the button to when he actually does an attack.
Right.
But and so I would just move through and I'd take the hits. But having played this, where it's all about setting yourself up and watching the enemy and then attacking at the right moment.
Right.
That's how Castlevania was always designed to be played. I'm like, oh, it makes sense now. It's a game about standing your ground and watching and waiting.
Right.
So just when you're on a ladder, you just watch him. The skeleton walks back and forth. He throws his boomerang bone, and you're like, okay, I'm good. I got this. I'm going to hit my whip now, and you'll be good. I'm like 10 times better at playing Castlevania than I ever was just from thinking about it.
Wow. I never thought of it like that. That's pretty cool, man.
Well, so this, you can't run. You can't, like, jump into fights. You will get screwed.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it's up to
I've
them.
learned that the hard way. Yeah, totally, man.
So their job is going to be to teach you how, like, the appropriate pace to play the game.
Right.
Without verbalizing it.
Okay.
And I haven't looked at this the way that I have with Demon Souls.
Mm-hmm.
They do it exceedingly well in Demon Souls, and I'm not sure that they do it as well with this game, and it might be that they're relying on people having played the earlier games.
Right.
So they have made this game a lot faster than the old ones. These are mostly the same moves. You've got normal attack, and most things will have a 3-part combo that can kind of chain infinitely. There's a strong attack, and there's like rolling.
Right.
And that's the core of it.
And like I think within the last 2 days I've looked up some stuff and I read that the roll is different because this time when you lock on, you don't roll anymore. You actually sidestep, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, it gives you less recovery time. And it's part of how they've tuned this game.
Right.
The fact that you don't have to stand up like that gives you fewer recovery frames at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it emphasizes rolling more often.
Okay.
Part of the way that they make the combat work is to give you. This is a pretty strong defensive action. The roll.
Yeah. Totally.
And in most situations, if you just are running away from a guy who's attacking you, you're safe while you're doing that. And they need to do that to give you enough time to watch their attack patterns.
Yeah. So that's a deliberate, like, game design choice, also, right?
You make the defensive action strong in order to allow the player to do something that's safe.
Right.
Of course, you used to be able to use a shield, and this is where they got rid of it.
Right.
And that's because while they probably thought that was important, they've decided that it was slowing the game down and encouraging a style of play that was detrimental.
Right.
So
yeah, because...
I was one of those people.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Dude, if there's a shield versus not using a shield, come on.
Yeah. Well, okay, so see, that's the thing is, I mean, I played the original Dark Souls for that.
Sure.
I also played for maybe like 4 hours also.
Sure.
So, like, in comparison, I like that, for people who don't know, this time you actually have, like, a gun pretty much on your left hand, right? And then that kind of becomes your shield. So you can use that to, like, stagger the enemy, right?
Yep.
And it kind of works like a shield, sort of.
Yeah, it basically takes the role of parrying that a shield could always do.
Okay.
It's like trigger a counter by hitting the button right before the enemy hits you.
Right.
It keeps that ability but takes away the blocking ability.
Okay.
So they push it towards an action. They're pushing it more towards action, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because, like,
keep going.
No, I was going to ask about the lore. Like, is the lore anything that you're interested in? Is that something that brings you to these games, or is it really just like the like gameplay mechanics and stuff like that?
I think it's a big part of the package because so much of the game, a big part of the game, you've got the action side and then you've got the exploration side. Mm-hmm. And in order for that to hit, it doesn't, and they were real smart about this, it doesn't need to have a story that you're learning about, because the story that you care about is the story of your character, and it's a story told through actions.
Right.
This is a lot like how the story works in, say, Shadow of the Colossus. Like when it fits the game perfectly, there's not that disconnect between the game trying to show you that you're doing something awesome and what you're actually doing.
Right.
So they focus their energy on building the world and building it in a way that it's mostly self-explanatory and simple and told through, like, visual and metaphor.
Right.
So at this point, we died there because this game is playing with werewolf mythology.
Right.
We treat it as you're asleep and then you wake up. Like, we're going towards a more fairy tale kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Especially, that makes a lot of sense if you're in a steampunk setting with how big fairy tales, like specifically fairy tales, were in late 19th century, early 20th century popular culture.
Right.
And so you're asleep now, and then you'll wake up in the waking world. The way that instead of in the Souls games you were undead.
Okay.
And
then you became
the struggle. Yeah. You got soul juice and it firmed up your skin and everything. Mm-hmm. And so the struggle for your character was to avoid hopelessness.
Okay.
So you would see other NPCs and they'd be slowly turning undead. They'd call it turning hollow because they gave up on living, or they gave up on being undead, and they can't be the hero anymore. And you're special because you won't give up.
Okay, so right here.
Yes.
I went with that too, just because it was very, like, Castlevania-like, and I fucking love the animation between switching from the cane to the whip. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Well, and then when you put it back.
Yeah. It's fucking rad, dude.
Dude. It's so good.
Do you want me to take over share play so that I can play while you describe stuff? Or do you want to keep playing?
Sure.
I don't mind either way. I just, like, that way you can focus more on explaining stuff if you want and not have to worry so much about, like, dying or whatever.
Sure, let's give you something to do.
Is there really
How
a
does that
difference within those three
Yeah.
three weapons that you get?
It's one of those choices that you don't have a good understanding of what
Right.
the difference is going to be.
Right.
And then part of the problem is that it's kind of hard because they talk about them as trick weapons. It's kind of hard to tell what they're talking about. What they're trying to communicate is, do you want a sword and a whip, or do you want a short sword and a like swinging halberd, or do you want a club and an axe?
Okay.
And that's one of the nice things about fantasy is we can usually it fits within archetypes enough that we can usually make those decisions without knowing the game.
Right.
Like a lot of RPGs, you have to pick your class before you start the game. And that's not necessarily something that you're prepared to do because you don't understand the rules of the game. But if it plays
totally.
within
Totally.
if it plays within the archetypes, it's not as bad as it could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean that's what I'm saying, dude. Like when you do something like, yeah, like when you have to switch a class, right? And like you have what are the typical like roles you get? I guess like wizard
like,
classes like wizard, rogue,
Sure.
stuff like that. Like I don't much care for magic. I want to fucking stab people and shoot them.
Yeah.
So I always look
Yeah.
for that, right? But that isn't necessarily like in some games like that can kind of hold you back based on I guess how they're designed, really.
Yeah, and if they've named them different stuff, or
Yeah.
if you're not sure exactly how the ranged combat works, and it feels a lot worse than you thought it would, or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So like you choose a rogue, but in that particular game, like the stealth just fucking sucks.
Yeah.
The weapon, like the stabbing is fucking
Yeah.
lame. Yeah. Totally. And then you
So,
have to
like, in
start
this
all
game-
over, and it sucks.
And like that's like a system design choice, because in this the classes are open. You're not locked down to something. So if you don't like the weapon, you can go back and buy a different one.
Yeah.
They just give you a sort of cost. So the player has to like trust them and play with it long enough to not feel freaked out.
Right. And see, when you
So the-
chose a weapon at the beginning too, like I also chose the blunderbuss because I was like, fuck yeah, shotgun. If you're
Yeah.
gonna be using it more as like a defensive weapon to kind of stagger dudes, like I would think you would level it to a point where it just becomes this like massive explosion after a while, right? I've only played it for like whatever,
I don't think that's
so-
how it works.
Okay. That's kind of disappointing then, but
I think it's. Hold on, I'm wondering if I can. The werewolves usually don't take stagger damage, and they probably just want me to attack them normally. Yeah, if I'm not careful.
whoa, damn. Man, they don't go down easy. This early in level,
he's
I
actually
guess, yeah.
really. He's got really hard attack animations. They don't. When you fight higher level versions of him, they're not much different from that, and they're a lot easier when you can circle around behind him. But this is actually a really crowded space.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tradition in the Souls games to give you a really hard enemy that you die on
Mm-hmm.
to make a point about the tone of the game. They're like, this is a game
Okay.
where you can't beat everything. It's okay to run away.
Okay.
And that's a really hard lesson to teach people, because normally people are trained to, if it's in the game, the designers intended you to beat it, so you must be doing it wrong.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Is like yeah, you'll come up to him and you'll start attacking, and you tend to think, well, I should be killing this guy. Why the hell am I dying?
Yeah. Yeah, so they can only pull that like you will die here a couple times.
Right.
They only do it. They really only do it once at the beginning, and that's just to get that tone across.
Right.
We were talking about the theme, and one of the things where the Souls games focus on souls and use that as an aspect of you don't have your souls, you have no more motivation, you're no longer a hero, you might as well die.
Right.
This game uses blood to build a relationship with like frenzy.
Okay.
So in this game, because the combat is more fast-paced,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the heck did I miss?
Yeah, totally. See, that's where the game like totally fucks with you, man. You're like, I totally should have got that.
That was weird.
Yeah. Well, but then, so, like, do you think that's just a fault of the game, or was that really like, nah, man, you totally missed? I don't know, man.
So if you're locked on, you should be facing them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that was. There can be some weird hitboxes at times. I haven't seen enough to make me like real mad, but
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
yeah,
so
times where you throw a Molotov and you totally miss, even though you were totally locked on and aimed right at him. But anyways, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
so it's a lot easier in this game. They've got that mechanic where, like, if I get hit by this guy, my health has that orange bar, and it will actually refill in the next couple seconds as it's raining.
Ah, okay.
This is a brand new mechanic, and they're doing it to get you more aggressive. Like,
so if you kill the person within the amount of time,
it doesn't matter who you're attacking. Any damage
okay.
you deal will heal you as long as you have that little orange bar of you are getting life back at the moment.
Huh, okay.
I'm pretty sure this is to push you to not run away when you get hit, but to attack more.
Holy
nice
shit, yeah, I was doing the exact... Yeah. Totally, man. Yeah, I mean, like, the sound design and even just the art design, man. I mean, look at how intricate a lot of that stuff is up there. Like, in most games, I guess it is one of those things, right, where you just kind of, like, run through it anyway. But here, you do actually circle around a lot, so it makes sense to have, like, super detailed kind of shit.
And they do a good job of reusing all this stuff. Because it's a city, it makes sense that it's kind of on a template.
Exactly.
And they use it a bunch. I think, I'm not far enough in to tell, but there may be less environmental variation in this game, and that might be a response to next gen. Like, let's just, if our theme is a more, like, solid, consistent theme, we can reuse a lot more of our art.
Art assets, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But what I was saying, the whole theme of more aggressive combat fits with the theming of werewolves and blood. Like, everybody's power in this game comes from turning into a werewolf, and all the enemies, the more far gone they are, the more werewolfy they are.
Okay.
And it's implied that this is happening to you too. So the better fighter you become, narrative-wise, the more you have to watch out for becoming a horrible beast.
Oh, okay. So, wow.
Like, all your power comes from stealing everybody's blood, and the blood is tainted and stuff like that. I guess it's more of a Dracula thing.
Yeah.
But
well, yeah, and I guess that would fit the whole, like, Victorian look, right? I mean, I guess of that era, that time. Or
yeah,
whatever.
if you're gonna have
totally.
crazy sideburns, you might as well make them werewolves.
Yeah. The only thing you're missing are those really fucking tall hats and monocles.
Oh, dude, you can totally get those.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Holy
yeah.
shit, dude. Because I already like the way the game looks. Like,
Well,
its art
and
style and art direction and stuff, so that's fucking cool.
The description says...
Jeez.
The description says some hunters believe that dressing up is a good way to stave off the beast because they feel fancier.
Ah. Huh. Crazy. Oh, and that guy's a fucking asshole, dude, because he's like, he'll miss you a couple times, and if he does, he'll just start waving his torch in front of you.
Torch.
And, yeah, make you catch fire. That fucking sucks, man.
Okay, so these encounters are supposed to be teaching you. I've done this before on Demon Souls and, like, walked through how this works. But okay, so the normal fights, you've got the guy downstairs here, and he spends the way that he's walking.
Are you talking about the big dude with the big, like, hammer kind of thing?
Ah, screw that guy.
Oh,
No,
I was
I'm
gonna
talking
say
about-
you're going to him already, man. Fuck.
So this guy, the way that he walks and the way that you've got this carriage, you can almost always sneak up on him. And so they're giving you a nice advantage. They can use their normal enemy and give him, like, his normal difficulty, but let you sneak up on him.
Okay.
This guy, the guy that sits up, they're kind of teaching you about how guys can get up, but he dies in 2 hits, whereas this guy takes, like, 4 hits or so.
Oh, okay. I thought I was just getting him with a really good fucking, like, charge attack.
But I think that's because they take so long to stand up.
Yeah.
Like, and they're triggered from a distance of, like, this, right?
Right.
They're giving you a moment where they're asking you to run forward and attack him while he's vulnerable.
Ah.
So they're pushing you towards times when it's appropriate to be aggressive.
Right.
But then the next enemy that you fight, once I get up here, let me equip my Molotovs also.
So I'm assuming because you have 4 slots for weapons, you'll have 2 pairs or a pair of weapons at any given moment? Like at the ready?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And in this game, and that's how they used to do it. So in old games, you'd combine. You could say, I want a sword and I want a whip.
Okay.
And in this game, you really are carrying 4 weapons because
Right.
you can really think of these as 2 different weapons.
Yeah, that is fucking awesome, dude.
I don't really know how to use a whip well because it's so... I think it's good on a group. I never really played around with it in the older games.
Right. Well, and so that's the thing, right? Is you think, okay, you have this kind of like nice area of attack type thing, but if you're like in a little hallway kind of thing, your whip is just gonna stick to the walls and it's just gonna deflect the attack. You're not even gonna hit the enemy.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty dick move too, but you know, it makes you learn. Oh shit! Well, I can't just fucking use any weapon. I need to switch it up and do stuff.
I heard that was one of the like principles when they made Demon Souls was a game where if you know the size of the corridor would matter. If you hit your sword on a wall, you couldn't continue your swing.
Right. Right.
And so there's a lot of they push it a lot harder in that game. They've kind of eased up on it.
Right.
But there was a lot of like really, really tight corridors where you're like, oh man, I need to get a thrusting weapon here. Mm-hmm. And those are some interesting decisions, like trying to analyze, having to switch weapons and play with the different play styles. A lot of times we have the problem, especially in an RPG where you can upgrade your stuff, that people find one thing that works and they stick with it.
Right.
And you might have built all these other things, but if nobody's using them, it's just kind of wasted content. That's also why they have a little bit of damage variance.
Whoa, damn, that was close.
Dude.
Yeah.
They have a couple damage types. So if you look at the weapon, it'll say blunt and thrust damage. And those are there to get you to switch weapons and experience more variety. Like if they had designed the game without it, it would just be on the damage and the attack patterns.
So, explain that a bit. Like, what do you mean by the blunt? Because I see that in the stats too, but there's already so many stats to try and keep track of. Like, what is the benefit of like keeping track of that? Oh, damn.
I was getting cocky. So,
explain that real quick, just because it already happened. The idea of dying and what do you lose when you die?
The world resets.
Right.
So you go back to the checkpoint, all the enemies respawn. That's the primary penalty to the player. You also lose your carried experience, which will come back if you can make it to that spot without dying again.
Which is your blood? What is it? Blood? What is it called again? Blood essence.
Game.
Blood. Yeah, people just call it souls, right? Because of what it was back in the day.
Yeah, I think it's a stronger metaphor in that game. Although I could get used to it. Like there's your pool of blood on the ground.
Right. So what happens is you lose all of your blood souls or whatever, and if you go and find that guy, you can kill him and take those souls back, right?
And
like
they've added a little.
Banks them?
You'll get your experience back.
Yeah.
Sometimes it actually creates it as a marker on the ground, and then if a guy walks over it, he'll collect it himself.
Ah, okay. So it's not necessarily just the guy that you killed, or that killed you.
Before it was always on the ground, and in this game it's either on the ground or in a nearby enemy.
Okay.
And I'm not entirely sure why they changed it like that.
Is that a substantial change, you think, or is it just kind of like
Really? Well, so it matters if like a really hard guy picks it up.
Right.
And then you're very unlikely to get it back. Like if that guy was strong enough to kill you and you don't know how to fight him yet, you might have a big problem.
And then if you die twice, you lost your chance of actually getting him back, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it creates a new spawn.
Okay. Fuck yeah, dude. See, that's awesome.
It feels cool.
Yeah, hell yeah, it does. Especially when you do get that stagger in.
The ability to attack and then switch your weapon type in the middle of your attack chain.
Yeah.
I haven't found a lot of like real important uses for it.
Right.
But it feels so cool.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I noticed that too, that you can kind of switch it up, but it's not like a Bayonetta or something, where your combos are actually chained together and you're doing all these crazy fucking chains. You're really attacking.
What's the point of a combo? Is it to... It creates a benefit for pulling off a whole sequence.
Mm-hmm.
It
right.
lets them design animations in an appropriate way. That might be one of the big advantages of it.
Yeah, like just over the top. Well,
Sure.
Bayonetta, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Or,
yeah.
yeah,
but
any
they'll
Platinum game,
like
pretty much.
they'll give you a bonus in Bayonetta. Like there's a difference between like hit twice, let go, hit twice, let go, hit twice, let go, and then like pull off 6 attacks in a row.
Right.
And it builds more of a risk reward for like getting more involved into an offensive pattern, I think.
Okay.
Okay, there's the guy.
Yeah, I don't know what
So-
is up with my internet, dude, but it's still good. It's just a little choppy, a little grainy.
Sure.
But yeah, keep going. Sorry, man.
So what I was trying to do with this guy was do the counter,
Nice.
and then you do that.
Yeah. And
That's really like, man, that's what I always wanted the guns in Devil May Cry to be like.
nice.
Like,
Yeah,
just
right?
like it's an emphasis on your attack chain. You're like attack, attack, shoot, rip his heart out,
Yeah.
which feels so good, and they just throw blood everywhere.
Holy crap, man.
But it, what?
Oh. Yeah, see, that asshole got me the first time, too. I had maybe like
Well, that-
1,500 experience points. I went up to get that, whatever that was glowing, and that guy just got me out
Sure.
of nowhere.
So that's there to teach you about how this game works.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't
that's
just
like
blindly walk around a corner.
well, even more than that, you saw how that happened, and I'm barely paying attention right now, which
Yeah.
is what gets me into this problem. There's an item here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they can slap you in the face. They're like, dude, don't go for items. Look for enemies who are going to attack you.
Yeah.
Whoop!
Yeah.
I just said you lost connection.
I got it.
So-
Try and jump back in. Keep
I'll
going,
describe
man.
it.
You're good. Yeah.
I'm walking down the stairs right now, and now I'm walking down some cobblestones.
Yeah.
Now a guy attacked me. So one of the things they're able to do by having you replay the level again and again,
Mm-hmm.
they get you to pay a lot more attention to the enemy placement,
Mm-hmm.
and they're also able to increase the difficulty, I think, because
They're able to increase it?
I think so.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because
I guess, right.
yeah, because they can
yeah,
set up
yeah.
situations that you can anticipate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't know if you'll get to this point right here, but this is kind of like, I passed this section coming up right around this corner, right?
Sure.
I'm just describing it in case I don't even think it's that much of a spoiler. It's just kind of the idea of what this fucking game does to you is, you kind of kill all these guys off. You go into that left gate over there, and then you go into this section where there's a bunch of those like whatever they were, werewolf dogs or whatever in cages.
Yeah.
And you see that, and you're like, they're going to fucking bust out of those cages. I know it. And then you walk by one, nothing happens, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. It's just fucking for animation or whatever. You pass by another one, and it totally busts out and just starts attacking you, and you're like, son of a bitch. But yeah, I mean, like right now you're banking, what, like 1503 in experience.
Sure.
You could go bank them right now, right at the go back to the Hunter's
Yeah.
Dream, buy some vials or whatever, or you could
Yeah.
risk like just fucking tearing these dudes up and get even more. Like, dude, that was nice.
The real thing that I'm risky with is
Ah,
when you run
Yeah.
back yourself into a wall.
exactly. But yeah, so there, like, you die, you go back, it resets the whole world, and you lost all your XP. Now you have to
Right.
start pretty much all over again. But you're
But-
learning the patterns of the enemies so that you're better the
Yeah.
next time. Okay.
And they're nice enough to give these intro guys. There's actually 3 or 4 unique enemy types that we're fighting right now, and they each have 4 or 5 different attack animations.
Okay.
So there's enough stuff they can do that you have a lot to learn against while you're playing this early part.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also enough that they can they can get you past, oh, I got lucky that one time, and get you to a point where you have to play at a performant level and do the sorts of tasks that get you in the mindset that they want to give you.
Right.
Like the actual being careful. You're like, okay, I know how to handle this situation. If I wait until he's done, and then I just stab him in the head. Okay,
Yeah.
I got that one handled. And it's real. nice that they added the patrolling element.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't used to have much of the guys walking around because it gives you a situation where you need to watch your back. Like you
Right.
need to have a lot more situational awareness.
And then, so one thing I don't think we went over was over on the left where you have your HUD, right? You have your red bar, which is obviously your health, and then you have your green bar, which is your stamina. So that's the other thing that they've added also to keep you from just attacking like a maniac. Because if your stamina drops all the way, then you can still attack, right? You're just your damage. Oh, you can't.
So you
I
can
mean, it
mash
recharges
the
pretty
attack button.
quick. Yeah.
It's got a cooldown. It works very similarly to the way that shields work in a game like Halo,
Okay.
where there's a cooldown from the last time you spent it. So like in Halo, getting shot resets the timer for when your shields are going to start recharging, right?
Okay. Right.
And this works in that way. So you can use it every time you use it. It's got like a half-second timer before it comes back. And that's important because they also let you spend it. No matter how expensive the attack is, they let you spend it as long as you have more than 0 stamina. So if I was using like a big hammer and it took half of my stamina each time, as long as I had 1% and was jamming it, I could still use it.
Oh, really? So it has nothing to do with the amount of damage you do. It just has to do with how many times you can perform it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
So that's why you can mash it when you're empty, and you'll get stuff. It just has to go by that half second.
Okay. But generally, you don't want to do that, right? Because it is kind of telling you, like, yeah, be offensive, but also, like, kind of know that you should learn when to attack.
Yeah, and you need to have stamina to be able to pull off a dodge.
Yeah, okay, exactly. Nice, man. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, stuff like that feels really good. Like, when you really nail it.
And like, you care about it in this because it's hard enough that it matters.
Yeah. Yeah, those Molotovs can be super useful, man.
They're really powerful.
So how do you pull that off? There's a name for that move, isn't it? Like, it's kind of like a stagger or something?
They might just call it stagger. I don't know particularly. So it's operating by the rules they had before, so I kind of had an advantage. So as the enemy's attacking you, he'll have a small period of time. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Where any shots will cause him to get staggered.
Okay. So that guy in the back, his eyes are glowing. That means he has your souls, right?
Yep.
Okay. And that guy.
And once he goes down on his knees, if you do a normal attack on him, you'll do that special attack.
Ah, okay. See? Fucking dick, dude.
And like right when I have all of his life gone.
Yeah.
He's got like a tiny percent. He's like, oh, nope, set you on fire.
But it's cool that, I mean, I guess this goes with how you were saying about the way that, I guess you might be turning into a beast or whatever, because that's how they refer to you. They're like, there's the beast, get the beast. So to you, I mean, to them, you're the beast. You're basically the enemy, right?
I don't think this is the sort of game that wants you to like think real hard about maybe I'm bad, but they like that underlying tension. Like these guys speak in English words.
Yeah.
Which it feels a lot like BioShock in that sort of way, where they're clearly insane, but the fact that they still have human elements makes you feel worse about killing them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and I think one of them, when I killed him, I don't know who it was, said something like, I could have sworn he said something like, it sucks not to be a dad anymore, or something like that. I was like, what?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, it's weird. It says something about being a father or something, and I'm like, what the fuck? That's what I was saying, like, when it builds up that whole thing of, they refer to you as the beast, or like the guy when he's waving his torch in front of you, he's basically saying, like, stay away, stay away.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. Then there's this guy who looks all fucking, what's that guy from Batman? Scarecrow.
Oh, yeah.
He looks like Scarecrow, man. Got a sack on his head and everything.
What, the shield guy?
Yeah.
No,
like
he's just got a lot of hair on his face.
Oh, shit.
He's not doing so good.
Oh.
Oh, he's got bandages or something. I think part of it is that like as people turn more beast-like, they put bandages all over their face.
Ah. Wow, it looks like they modeled the hair to have like physics or something because it looked like he was upside down and his beard was flowing upside.
Yeah,
That's
that's what
crazy.
you'll do. You'll put a joint, a physics joint on it,
Mm-hmm.
in the same way that you would model like a rope.
Oh, okay. And you would do
Uh,
it for like bunches of the hair, right? It's not like you would do each individual follicle. That's just too much.
Yeah,
That's
so
fucking
games that have
crazy.
good hair, like Destiny,
Mm-hmm.
are getting better at like putting those bunches on top of each other and putting the joints in smart locations.
Right.
Oh, can you not charge the whip?
No,
Wow, you
yeah,
can't
no. The
actually charge
whip
it.
doesn't have a charge. I figured that out too.
Ah,
Yeah,
That I did
exactly.
not know.
So, at your level that you're at right now, have you unlocked anything cool, like any new weapons or anything
Uh,
that like
I've been using the sword combined with a hammer,
the Kirkhammer?
which, yep,
Okay.
it's like it looks like a 30-pound block of stone that you strap to your back. It's like
Yeah.
you have a baby Yoda on your back.
Baby. Whoa, where the fuck did all those guys come from?
Yeah. That's not good.
Damn, dude. That timing was pretty good, though.
It was probably not.
Oh! I was about to make a point of how you have no blood vials and you fuck! And you've
That was stupid
lasted
of me.
that fucking long, though, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, I should probably buy some stats. Level 4 is a big difference from level 10.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, too. So even then, you're still, like, kicking ass, dude. I was like, what did I say? I chose a professional? Is that...
It doesn't, I mean, it's not a huge difference. I do maybe 30% less damage and have like 30% less life.
Okay.
So it's not
Yeah.
it's not ridiculous.
Right,
And like
right.
one visit would put me at basically level 10.
Okay. So yeah, I
Um,
mean, do you have anything, or no, you wouldn't have anything to buy right now. I was gonna have you like maybe just go into some of that because
I died real close to the start of that. It shouldn't
Right.
take long to get it in.
yeah. So yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Is like their like checkpoint system, I guess, is basically those lamps that you find scattered out throughout the level, and that's where you it. Am I correct in assuming that in Dark Souls, like, or basically the Souls games, that when you got to the lamp or the equivalent of what a lamp was in those games, you were able to level up right then and there, right? You didn't have to
Yeah.
go to this external like Hunter's Dream thing and level
Yeah.
up. Okay. Well, how do you feel about
I'm-
that? Like, is that obviously
So
I have
on the
no
one
reference
hand-
point to that, so
It's nice to have like a home base.
Mhm.
This is like super high level aesthetics. This is not design theory here.
right.
It feels nice to have like a home base that your character owns. I kind of like that.
Okay.
Thanks for the blood. It's a problem that it takes so long to load.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring
Obviously.
up because that's the one thing I've
Yeah.
noticed is it's just loading times in this game are pretty
Yeah.
atrocious.
They had a real nice. There's bits of this that remind me more of Demon Souls. Demon Souls was similar, where you would level up in a home base. It was basically like a purgatory. Your soul was trapped, and it was this big black stone. It was like an obsidian structure. And I know my blood's around here somewhere. And
Yeah,
so you
maybe
would
one
go
of those
back.
guys took it or something.
I bet he did. But you would go back between levels.
Okay.
And you're like, here your soul is trapped. You cannot leave the Nexus until. There he is. I see him.
Yeah.
It's
And
that guy.
so that's the other thing also, right? Is like, say with that guy in particular you just killed, you couldn't, like, you know, because he's just fucking chilling, dude. Like, why the fuck are you gonna kill him, right? But you can't. Like, if you don't attack him, he'll attack you, like, without
Yeah.
a fucking doubt. So that's fucking crazy.
I'd say it's like a level design thing of hiding guys.
Uh-huh.
Lost my lock. Which is about. It's about making you pay attention.
Right. Well,
Just like the guy who jumped out behind the blind corner.
yeah. And
These
so
are like the guys who are sitting down.
yeah. There's a part that obviously, like I was mentioning about what comes up after this corner here, where I hesitate to mention exactly where it is, but it's the I'm sure you've seen it, is the old man in the wheelchair.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That is fucking awesome because, for people who don't notice those little things on the ground, players can leave those for each other, right? They're like
Yeah.
notes that you can leave to show, like warn people about stuff that's coming up or whatever. But you can also like pretty much grief people and make trick them into thinking there's treasure up ahead, and you basically get them killed. So I think that's fucking awesome. But I read a note that mentioned look out for the old guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was part of the game or if someone actually put that note on the ground.
They very rarely you can tell when it's a developer note, and they very rarely put developer notes in.
So how would you know? Like,
you can't rate it.
Okay.
Jerk. So the other thing that this regenerating life mechanic does is it encourages you to use their parrying mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the problem with the parries that they've had for a long time was that it's like, why would you take the risk of getting a cool counter when you can just block it with a shield?
Okay. And the parry you're referencing is the shooting the gun, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
So one of the things that being able to get your life back does is if you screw up...
Jeez.
If you are playing aggressively and using parries, it lets you, even if I screwed it up, like I screwed up that parry, I didn't actually stagger him, and he hit me, but because he was stunned for a small second, I was able to start attacking him and get most of the life that I lost back anyway.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
That's
like, it
cool.
wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
See, like, and there, he had a small stagger, and that was because I didn't successfully stun him. So that was just the normal effect of shooting a gun.
So that's
against
also
that
why you didn't get your health back, right?
That was because I ran away.
Oh, okay.
Like, he hit me, I hit him with a gun, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to kill him before he starts attacking me again.
Okay.
And so I have to run away. And I might as well spend my souls, or my blood, to actually upgrade my character.
Okay. Yeah, so let's show this off because I'm kind of curious about this too, because one of the main reasons why I don't play like RPGs and stuff like that is, again, it goes back to that whole strategy element, where like I don't have like the mentality for something like that, right? To like look at all these stats and do the math and figure like this and that. So like,
and it's tough when you see it all right away. Like,
yeah, exactly.
it's tough to ease. We don't have a lot of good systems for easing people into the stats. Like, here's the first one, and then here's the second one.
Right. Which is why I thought Destiny did that pretty well, where it has the compare feature. I mean, I guess Diablo does it too, but Diablo also has all these
stuff,
like super, like just fucking esoteric little things here and there, where like Borderlands did it too, but where you kind of have the weapon that you have, compares it to the next one, and all it does is show green this, red that, and you're just like, okay, I'll take this.
Yeah, a lot of that I think is good UI.
Yeah.
And this, I mean,
Yeah.
they keep on changing their UI, but they have had notoriously tough UI. Like, if you look at the bottom, like I can hit toggle stats, which does this thing on the right, and that's to look at my character stats. Or I can hit display, which shows me the stats of the item that I'm looking at right now.
Exactly.
It's an odd UI, and I'll forget the buttons sometimes. One thing that's super important, you can hit R3, like click the right stick, and you get a help cursor that will explain all the stats.
But it won't show you stats on the... Oh, well, because you could bring up the weapon. Oh, yeah, so that's the whole point of display. Weird. Okay. Yeah. That's what I was trying to figure out, is what those stats were. But, okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense then.
I'm not super happy with the way that they did this. They set it up so that every time you come back, a lot of the opening mechanics unlock. So like the first time I came, they had the little dudes on the staircase that would give me the weapons and the items.
Right.
But it's kind of weird because they look like these guys. Like, it's not that much different, and it looks like the little messages all over the place.
Yeah, so you can
so
kind of just walk
I've missed
over
one of these.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you have to look to see what's different. Like, I don't know that the house is going to be open the second time I came back.
Yeah. And
until
also,
you actually...
And also with the messages that are on the ground too, is you don't know which ones you have and haven't read because they're all the same, you know?
The player messages should go away
They
once you read
should?
them.
Okay. All right. I'll have to go back and see that then. This is
Uh,
actually pretty creepy what he says about the doll.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's like, you can use
Are
that
they,
doll
like-
too.
Are they
for-
trying to like tell a joke?
I don't know. You would be more familiar with their sense of humor than I would, man. I think it's the second time you talk to him though. Like he
Yeah.
says something about, and even that doll down there, do whatever you want with her or something like that.
And the line
there
is
it
really
is.
weird. Like he whispers it.
Yeah.
He does like a stage whisper.
Yeah, exactly, man. What the fuck?
I don't know. It's kind of gross.
Even the doll
I'm kinda
should
grossed
please
out.
you. That's awesome. Yeah, so show some of that fortify and repair. So you have to repair your weapons also, right?
Yeah, they've only sometimes made this matter.
Okay.
So why is it useful to have a game where your weapons have durability? Well, it can create a situation where your weapon breaks and you're forced to switch weapon and like experience more variety, kind of improvise on the fly. They don't really do that. In Dark Souls 2, they had fast enough weapon breaking that you would sometimes like be out between checkpoints and actually have to switch weapons.
Okay.
But this is really slow, so it's never affected me. I've been playing for like 12 hours. It does give them the ability to make like a super magic weapon. Like they've had before weapons that break in like 10 or 20 hits.
Okay. So you mean it's super slow in terms of the durability dropping, right? So like your weapon will
Right.
last a long time. Okay.
It had like 187 out of 200 durability, and I had been fighting with it for half an hour.
Right. Okay.
So that's not something that will come into play.
Okay. Do you know if you'll ever have to repair your guns though?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Can you upgrade your weapons or like your guns?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You can, but you don't have the items to do so yet.
Ah, okay. Oh yeah, bloodstones. So over on the
you
top
need
right.
3 and I have 1. Yeah.
Okay. And those are
and
just
so-
scattered around the environment, right?
Yeah, they'll give you. They put a bunch as treasure chests. I'd say like 60 to 70% of the ones that you find are through treasure chests, and
Okay.
then they spawn off of enemies pretty rarely.
Okay.
Some enemies hold more than others, and you'll find more as the game continues, and they assume that you'll need more.
Okay.
One thing that's kind of weird is that she is what levels you up, and she's not up yet.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna ask when it came to leveling up. That's what I was saying. Like I knew you could buy this stuff, you could go and fortify your weapons or whatever. So I was like, where do you upgrade? Because I can't find anything. All of these are just like dungeon things or something that happen.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, these are kind of weird. It's kind of weird to find your way around this because they have like 10 of those graves.
mhm.
So it's not. I got to a point where they used another grave for some of the checkpoints, like those.
Oh wow.
The 3 or 4 graves leading up the stairs are to spread out their checkpoints, but I didn't even realize that I had that checkpoint because it was a real subtle effect. Like they lit the candles on that grave. but
Okay.
I like bypassed it like 4 times.
Yeah, because when you go by those graves, it says "awaken here" or whatever, and then when you go and you don't have any checkpoints in that section, it just says you can't be awoken here or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's cool to show you how much, like, give you a hint at how much there is. Like in a Metroid-style game, which this is kind of like, it's important to like this sort of thing, to have a door, and it's like, oh, you can't open this door.
Right.
But because you can do that, you know that it is a place you can go, so you want to go there.
Yeah.
And that's like stoking curiosity, right? You're foreshadowing.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
super important.
And I love that.
And that's
stuff.
what-
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, and the city setting is so good for them because they're building it super dense. Like they
Right.
have tons of stairs above, like little bridges across the streets, and you go down and up and around. And I think their level design is best when they're doing that sort of thing. Yeah,
and
she's not
there's
up
no
yet.
there's no map either, so you kind of have to remember where you're at. You have to kind of remember landmarks and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in a situation where she didn't get up, but he's gone.
Okay.
And like I don't know the triggering conditions. It's
Okay.
just like, oh, game, what are you doing?
Yeah. So how do you think someone who would probably see this as like a Shadow of Mordor kind of God of War type game come into it and be like, what the fuck is this? Like, do you think most people would just be turned off and kind of like maybe go back and sell the game or sell it, trade it in or something? Or do you think
That's what we think.
Yeah.
There was so this game did a lot of simplifying from, say, Dark Souls 2.
Right.
In terms of the stats and like the character building.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, they added a lot of depth to their combat. Like the ability to charge your weapons, the implications of being forced to attack, just how much more difficult taking away shields actually makes a game.
Right.
All of that, I think, speaks more to them building on their current fan base than trying to attract a new one.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot there's an hour limit on the share play thing, so we might
Is that like lifetime?
Not that I'm aware of. This would be a good test of it though, because I've always wanted to know that. Yeah, like I think they limit it just because it's kind of like they don't want you playing a whole game of something that you don't own, which I think is pretty stupid. But yeah, we could try that right now.
Just
that stops
ripping
anyway.
his heart out.
Yeah, that's just.
And that's like,
Man.
it shows how important just doing cool things is to an action game too.
Yeah.
Like that is a big part of it. And just one of the hard things about action games is getting that balance between art and design right. Like we've had a lot of bits in Galaxy where something isn't feeling right, and you're building a game and you're prototyping stuff all the time. You're like, okay, I want to build this new thing.
Right.
And then you need to decide quickly, this is good, this is bad. I need to stop working on this and do something else or not. But sometimes it's just that your art isn't good enough or your sound effects aren't good enough. Like you wouldn't see that in a strategy game or a puzzle game, but in a game like this, you can break a mechanic if you just don't have the aesthetics right.
Yeah.
And
Man, that is so fucking cool.
that's a real tough skill.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've done some real cool stuff here. And that's just like their skill in animation and sound effects has gotten better.
Yeah. Well, and then Dark Souls 2 wasn't from software proper, right? It was.
It was.
Oh, it was? Wasn't it like a side team, though, or?
Different director.
Different director, there you go. I knew something was different about it. Yeah, this will be a good test of that share play thing, dude, because I've never pushed it to the full hour, so I don't know. But
okay.
Yeah, and this is kind of crazy. Like, we've spent this whole hour in just this little section of the game.
Yeah.
Like, you haven't even gotten past
like,
that little corner over there.
And I've been playing it long enough that I fought hundreds of these guys, but I'm still losing.
Yeah.
And my character, this character kills them a lot slower. She's a lot more fragile, but that balance between always like the enemies are always lethal no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But you're also kind of talking and describing stuff at the same time, man. So I know, like.
Sure, but it's real important that you don't class out from the enemies super fast because you're going to be fighting them so much. That they still have enough trickiness in their animations, and like the windows are short enough that it's still tough. It's a good game, is what I want to say.
What's the toughest boss have you? I'm sure you've gotten to a boss already, right? You've already fought a boss or not yet?
I fought 4 bosses.
Holy
so I've played
crap.
like 6 levels.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a Metroid game, you don't once you hit a boss, you can pretty much choose to not fight it at that moment in time. You're like, not right now.
What do you mean? So like if you get to the boss, you still have to defeat it the first time, right? Before you can just pass
you'll
through it?
die.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
But the level design, because it's Metroid-y, a lot of times you can just not do that and try and find a different branch.
Ah. But
They close it in the beginning.
Okay, because I was gonna say in
Like
the
the
same way
beginning-
you could totally bypass it go to another side, and then get to another boss that's even tougher than that too, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't.
Well,
it doesn't like.
But
get
on the
you
other
off.
hand, no, it doesn't. But what it lets you do is, I'll like leave and play a bunch of the level leading up to another boss, and that in itself will get me more experience. It will find me items that make me
okay.
more powerful.
Okay.
And that's kind of the benefit of the RPG system, that lets them have some squish in the difficulty.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
if
That's
you-
just a,
if
that's
you're
a
just
funny
not
way
as
to
good at
describe
this
it, yeah.
action,
Oh,
if you're, he's gonna do that. I don't know how to counter that. If you're not as good at this action game, then this is.
Ah.
Oh, that was gross.
Oh man! Right as it quit. Did that show it on your screen also, or?
It said SharePlay has stopped.
Okay.
JC is gone.
Let me see. Let me see if I can finally put you into mine. Nope, still says too low. Huh. Try again. Try and see if it lets you jump it back in.
The party.
Yeah, because I'd like to see like your higher level stuff, or
Sure.
like your other character. Does it let
Players
you
you-
do separate
Wow, this
saves?
is so creepy.
What happened?
It's just in the friends list. It's like players you may know: Mark McDonald, Adam Boyes.
Oh, nice!
It's like, okay,
Hell
where
yeah,
is
dude.
he getting this? I haven't given it my stuff.
That dude,
Oh,
the
maybe
new the new software update said something about like letting you see who your Facebook friends are and stuff now.
I don't have a Facebook account.
Well, there you go, dude. That's even fucking scarier, man. This is kind of
Okay.
off on a tangent, but going off of that was I have a buddy who we went out to a bar not too long ago, and he has an Android phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was telling me that sometimes when he just has his phone like out, when him and his lady are like talking about stuff or whatever, the following day on his Facebook feed, like say they were talking about chicken nuggets, the following day on his Facebook feed, he'll get an ad for like, not necessarily McDonald's chicken nuggets, but like
Yeah.
Tyson chicken nuggets or something. So it's kind of like, I think the phone is like listening to me, man. And I'm like, nah, I know they do creepy stuff like that, but it's not that
Wow.
bad, dude, unless you're activating something. And then so, you know, he was telling me about that, and we happened
Yeah.
to be talking about KFC that night. So the
Yeah.
following day, he sends me a picture of his Facebook feed, and it said something about like Popeye's chicken, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So that's
The newer
yeah.
phones will leave their mics on all the time, right? So
Yeah.
that you don't have to hit a button.
Exactly. Well, and then so the other thing is once he sent that, I sent him a link of Samsung TVs and how
Yeah.
you have to actually go turn off, like they have like voice control and shit now.
Yeah.
So you have to turn that off because the TV, they actually admitted to like having the TV listen to you because it's trying to tailor what you talk about to see if you want to watch this
Yeah.
TV show. Fuck, man. That shit's scary.
Future is messed up.
Yeah.
Well, in that AT&T thing where the internet, their internet will watch how you're browsing and serve you ads and send you emails based on that.
Yeah.
And it's something like $30 to $60 to opt out of it. I can't even
What?
imagine that they're getting that much money out of selling one person ads per month.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have to pay to opt out of that.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man? That's some jacked up shit.
It's pretty gross. There's technical ways to get around it, but it's probably in that sort of thing where 2% of people will do it, so they're not
Right.
too worried about it.
Yeah. Fuck that, man. All right, yeah. Try to fuck these dudes up and see if you can get past this.
Okay, so all you do is start up another SharePlay.
Yeah, I guess so. That fucking worked. That was awesome.
Huh. These Pitchfork guys are the ones that I don't have a good strategy for. I guess this whip works pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, on the topic of that SharePlay thing, which I thought was really weird when they announced like the whole thing with Far Cry 4 and how every game was going to come with like 10 keys so you could share with your friends and they could play like 10 hours of the game with you or whatever. And then they do this SharePlay thing. Well, I guess SharePlay is not necessarily the same thing because you would be sharing the same screen. But yeah, Far Cry I think has been really the only game that does that. But now I think anyone can
Probably
just
their own
download a
tech.
demo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
But that's one of those. It's good to have the platform holder put it in. I've heard stats. Have you heard of EDAR?
No.
It's one of those. It's one of the like game data places, and they'll collect data on a bunch of different games, and then when they consult, they help share that data with people. But they say that demos tend to cost a game sales, which is unfortunate, and obviously it's consumer friendly to have demos.
Yeah.
But their analysis is that a lot of people will buy, or a fair number of people will buy a game just to see what's up with it.
Right.
Like, what's this game like? And that curiosity is sated just from playing the demo.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
But I think that argues for something like Xbox Live, where they're like, all games have to have a demo, just
Right.
period.
Yeah.
And then playing field,
Yeah.
and it's a consumer friendly sort of decision.
Well, and what I like about, say, for example, that's mostly with Xbox Live Arcade games, right? Where they had to have a demo.
Yeah.
So what I noticed a lot of them did, I don't know if every single one of them did, but all the ones that I played for sure, would always lock an achievement right behind right behind the timed trial or whatever, right? So they're like, hey, if you like this achievement, go ahead and buy the game and you'll earn it or whatever. Yeah, and I actually did that with Fez, because I was like, fuck it, I'll just download it now. And then I started playing it, and it said, if you'd like to keep this achievement, unlock the game. And I did that whole thing. But then after I purchased the game or whatever, and I started it, it started me straight from the beginning. So that whole, like, whatever amount of time I put into it and the achievement that I earned, I didn't get immediately just by buying the game. So that fucking sucked.
You may have noticed that Fez shipped with a fair number of bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when that
Like-
would like totally eat your save or something. I mean, I guess a lot of games lately have been having that problem. So, fuck, man, that's insane.
Fez is real good. I like it, but
Yeah.
it definitely had some production problems.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in that situation. Luckily, not with professional stuff, but where you're like, oh, this should be fine, and it won't break, will it? And then it totally does.
Yeah.
And the bug testing just takes way longer than you anticipated it would.
Right. And then it's also just putting the game in the hands of someone who's like never, ever, ever touched your game, and they're gonna do something that you never fucking expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, that's not how you're supposed to play the game. And then they do it that
Exactly.
way, and everything falls apart.
Yeah, exactly, man.
And they're like, how am I supposed to know how to play your game? I
Yeah.
was playing a video game. Okay, dog.
Yeah,
think
so
the
it's those
shotgun's
dogs.
actually-
It's not the werewolf things. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
dude, what were you gonna
the
say?
gun is actually pretty good at staggering these guys, which is nice of them because these guys don't have a real attack window that you can counter them on, so they just make it so that your shots almost always stagger them.
Right.
Now, is somebody going to give me my souls back?
Yeah, seriously, I don't think I've
Are
seen-
you serious?
Oh, fuck, man.
I got caught on the wheel. So here's the real problem that they haven't solved. Is the camera.
Holy shit. Yeah.
So something like Shadow of Mordor, I'd call that the combat system of like Assassin's Creed, Batman, and Shadow of Mordor.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
One of the big things it does is like solve the camera problem. Like when you get into a fight, it always pulls the camera, it pulls it up, and it's at like a 3/4 view, and then it has that auto aiming thing. So you never attack and miss somebody.
Right.
Because they're like, well, you're a hero. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
And it has I don't really like those combat systems because I don't have enough agency. I'm not really in control of the game enough to feel like I'm playing it. But I think that came about as an attempt to solve these problems, because if I died because I'm trying to run and I'm hitting a wall and I can't tell, that's not really a good problem to have. It's not a problem that gets me more into the game.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. And I was actually about to say, like, how do you solve that camera thing? Because, I think Bayonetta does it, Ninja Gaiden does it, where the action is just so fucking all over the place, but the camera is attached to the player, so it's just following you everywhere you go. And I never noticed that in Shadow of Mordor. Like, I fucking love that game. I never had a problem with the camera that I can think of.
Yeah.
I guess that's fucking awesome. That it was so unproblematic that I never even noticed it.
But and then
Holy crap!
it's like a design solution.
Yeah. And I never thought of it in terms of like how you're saying, like you have that player agency that's no longer there. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Holy shit.
And so since your character automatically, and like that's part of it too, your character automatically doesn't get stuck on things.
Yeah.
But then it feels less like it's your character and more like it's like I always get the feeling playing those games that I'm telling the character where to go, and they're kind of like, okay, I will do, like you're pointing them in the direction, and they're doing it themselves.
In those types of games, or in this one?
In those games, like Assassin's Creed,
Right.
Batman, Shadow Mordor, and it's not really the feeling that I want from an action game, which is why I never fully like those games.
Well, but Assassin's Creed, I fucking hate Assassin's Creed too, because once you get to that point where you're jumping over fucking ledges and going up buildings, and you jump in a completely different direction that you did not intend to go in. Yeah, that's frustrating, man. So I completely gave up on the Assassin's Creed, all of the games right after 2. I'm just like, fuck that.
It reminds me of the way jumping feels in like the 3D Zeldas, where you spend all that work to like set up.
Oh yeah,
like you're setting up a jump. Right?
Yeah.
And then you jump in there and you're like, that was completely the wrong direction, and you're just powerless to stop it.
Yeah, totally.
I'm surprised. Like, obviously, Ubisoft has the engineering resources to work hard at fixing the Assassin's Creed problem, and they haven't yet.
So what do you think that is, though? Because they have like 1,000 people working on these fucking games.
I think it's the sort of thing where it can work 99.9% of the time, but if it breaks once, like it's really appropriate to talk about it as like an AI system. Like the game is trying to anticipate what you want and make a decision for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what's going to happen. If you have 8 handholds and your only input device is a controller to push the general direction, the environment is too complex to give a good, like their current control system couldn't handle that. And I can't really, there's no game that could really handle that well.
Right.
So they have to have the AI do it. But if it makes one bad assumption, you feel it and you get mad. Like in the same way that co-op or like AI partners work.
Oh, right.
You get mad if they die and you're like, that's not my fault. They made a stupid decision. I didn't want them to do that.
But then you also get that thing where like in Last of Us, right? Where like, they kind of solved it to where basically like the enemy won't, oh shit, you scared the crap out of me, Kyle. My girlfriend's behind me moving some stuff. And I was like, what the fuck? Brett says hi. Hello. What happened? Oh no, she's fine. It's because my cat's under my feet. I didn't even notice. I lost my train of thought, man.
Oh, the dog took my blood. Where's that dog? He's got my blood.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, we were talking about co-op partners. I think it's a very similar problem. Like, if
Well, so the thing was with Last of Us and how like Ellie, like you have this situation where you're like you're crouching behind this area and there's like 3 guys around you. Fuck yeah, nice.
Yeah.
There's like 3 guys around you, and then she kind of runs directly in front of them, and the guys don't even notice that she's there. That's awesome, right? Because then it's like, oh, well, yeah, now I don't have to necessarily worry about what she's doing. But it kind of breaks in a game like that that's so like into its own story and, being this like super hardcore narrative. It kind of breaks that, right? Because then it's like, well, what the fuck? They didn't just see her run right in front of them. But in terms of
that's like
just
a modern
gameplay,
design solution too.
Yeah. Like it saves the gameplay, which I would think for the most part is more important. Where ultimately I didn't think Last of Us was a good game. Story and everything, all that stuff was really cool, but as a game, I didn't think it was very fun.
I haven't played it enough. Still waiting to.
I'd love to know what you think, man, because
seriously,
holy crap, I did not see this guy when I came around here.
He's that's a good moment. So you can hear him pounding on the door on the other side. Like once you finish that, you'll hear it.
So,
And so
I
then-
thought coming around this corner, like coming
Yeah.
into this, I thought I would see something that was going to start attacking me. Because, yeah, you totally can hear him, like, banging on that door, but I didn't know you could come out here and fight him.
Why isn't... So I'm just trying to get a stagger on him.
Do you
'Cause,
think
like-
it's your waste of skin?
There we go.
Oh, nice!
Rip his heart out.
Wow. He had, like, half health, dude. And you
That's-
totally took him out. Nice.
And that they're like, dude, learn to use the stagger. They
So
want
that's
to
where
do
you
that.
get the torch. Okay. Huh.
Torch is kind of cool.
Yeah, because you get to a part where
Yeah.
you kind of need it, right?
Whoa,
Like it
look at
gets
that bug.
Totally dark. Oh shit!
Oh, there we
Nice,
go.
nice. Yeah. Wow.
The heck was that? It must have been loading the torch model or something.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is a good example of where the note was. I guess. So would this be a developer note or would this be a player note?
Nope,
Could-
player note.
Okay, yeah, because this note was in my game, so that's
Yeah.
fucking awesome that it is like pretty much in everyone's game then.
It's like a social experiment. Like, I think they found, once they built this note system, that they could build secretier secrets because you're likely to have players tell you about it.
So
Like,
how would they control that though to where like there's not 100 million of these right in this center? I mean, right in this section.
I believe they. Okay, I think what's happening is every time you write a note, it goes to a server.
Mhm.
They've got a server with the like all the notes, and they're tied to the game location. And then when you're playing, it grabs them at a certain density. It's like, okay, I'm in this area, give me 10 notes. And so then it will just give you some notes. Before, one of the things it would do is make notes expire if people weren't liking them, and I assume they're doing something similar.
Okay.
And
And that's an actual player, right? That ghost,
Yep.
like apparition type thing. That's someone playing right now.
yeah, so they'll just randomly connect you with players. I don't know if they've recorded their movement on the server, and this is like 5 seconds behind, or if it's in real time. But
Okay.
just every once in a while, they give you this feeling to show you. It's like a thematic strengthening. It's like you're really alone. You can't get
Oh,
help from
wow.
another person.
Right. Right.
I heard an interview, or I read an interview about Demon Souls, where I think it was the director talked about getting lost in a snowstorm and having other motorists help him out
Mm-hmm.
in a way that he didn't know who any of them were, but he felt that connection to other people, like people are going to help other people out, even
Wow.
though you're mostly alone. And that was the sort of aesthetic that he wanted to capture.
Well, I think you fucking nailed it, man. That's actually pretty fucking cool.
It's really cool. I'm kind of sad that they haven't. Like, these multiplayer mechanics were pretty much set the first time from Demon Souls.
Mm-hmm.
So they haven't thought of anything
Like how to
better
progress
and
it?
mind-blowing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a lot like Halo, right? Halo has like 6 or 7 new mechanics or innovations that just became standard in shooters.
Right.
And, Bungie hasn't come up with anything like that since, but I guess that's okay. They already did it once.
Yeah.
This fight can be really nasty. And dogs are an interesting... Like, you see how they set up all these groups to have guys of each character type.
Yeah.
And they fill these different archetypes. Like, the dog is super fast and aggressive, and so you have to be really mindful of the space. And it's a lot more about a long-range approach. Like, you have to know what he's going to do when he's much farther away.
Right.
The guy with the pitchfork is a long-range melee. These axe guys are really aggressive, and they usually will get there first. And this guy's like the tank. But building group compositions is really important because it's so hard to fight more than one guy in this sort of game. So they get a lot more out of small changes in the group.
Right.
But you'll see them as they do their level design, like, okay, we've paired these characters together. Now can we pair these other characters together? What happens when we group these two together?
And when it comes to like going back to that multiplayer thing, though, there is not so much co-op, right? But you can bring someone into your game, or you can invade someone's game also.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does
And
that
it's-
work, and what's the purpose of that? I mean, I
So-
know obviously pulling someone in, they'll help you do stuff, but invading someone
Yeah.
and stuff, like, how does that work?
So part of the idea is that you're not playing with your friends.
Okay.
Like you're playing with strangers, and so they make it as difficult as possible to actually get your friends into the game.
Okay.
This would be a mistake to go up here because there are werewolves, and werewolves are gross.
I actually went up there and got totally fucking taken out.
What's even rougher is that there's two of them. They don't even let you fight one on its own. Like that's the first time you fight full strength werewolves, and you just like have two.
Right.
Why not? So you can set yourself up to say, "I want help," and you spend a limited resource. In this case, it's the eyeball resource in the top right, which is insight.
Right.
In the older games, it was humanity. It was like, are you alive, and thus can summon other people. And so that basically says, I want help with this.
Mm-hmm.
And other players who are looking to help people, that's a separate action you can take. What's weird is they make that really hard to find in this game. But other players will be able to join your game, and then they'll play until you beat a boss.
I didn't know you could kill them while they were in the cage like that. That's what fucked me the first time.
I didn't actually see him get out. I've never actually seen him get out. I've walked through here without opening the cages.
Yeah, I totally walked through there, dude, and the two up top that you just killed right now, they totally jumped out and killed me.
I've never seen that happen.
Yeah,
That's so weird.
That's fucking awesome, though. That it has that dynamic, right?
That's good. Like,
Yeah.
keep you on your toes. I mean, I feel kind of bad.
Killing them in the cage.
Yeah.
No, man, they're fucking... Yeah, they're demonic. Look at that shit.
Yeah, he's pretty messed up.
It's all Pet Cemetery style.
Donk.
But yeah, that's what happened to me, man, is I walked right down those stairs. Like, I missed those two. Like I said, I wasn't expecting them to open. I was like, okay, well, maybe they just look cool or whatever to make this area creepy. Fuck no, the second I walked down that step, the two of them behind me I heard the cages, like, just bust open. And with surround sound, it was even cooler because you're walking down the steps and you hear something behind you and you're like, fuck. Yeah, and they totally just took me out. Which I was pissed because I had banked, like, I think, about 2,000 souls or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And yeah, fuck that.
This
dude.
game will get good at, like, this is like a game to teach you Zen.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to be like,
Yeah, fucking
I'm done.
Zen.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about souls anymore. You know what? I'm done with experience.
Yeah, so this
I'll
is
get
the
my
part I was
experience like a
talking
normal
about.
person.
Yeah,
Well, I'm just having cool dark spaces.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, when I came in here the first time, too, I did not see that guy immediately. And then I walked in kind of slow. I was like, there's got to be something fucking in here. And that's when that guy, like, moved, and I was like, fuck that.
And you notice, so here's a note, nothing but wheelchairs here.
Yeah.
That's player.
Yeah.
So there's also just ambient voice in this area.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a guy talking on the soundtrack, and that's just, it gives you that anticipation.
Hold on, let me see if I can raise it just... Oh,
Oh, okay.
that's cool. I raised the volume a bit because I noticed it was a bit lower. Are you getting an echo at all?
When I attack.
Okay. Let me know if it bothers you, man. I could turn it back down.
Sure.
Oh, God, dude, that... Just... There's so much about this game.
Well, and it hits you because
Yeah.
they've created a state where you actually care if you die, which is unfortunate that you would have to suffer the pain of losing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that we don't know of a better way than to actually risk something of value to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, it's like you know, you wouldn't play poker unless there was some amount of money because it just works better.
Right.
Whoa, there's a guy behind me. Who's that? Who's that? How the heck did you get in there? I have no idea where this guy came from.
Yeah, I don't either, man. No one else was in that room with you. That I saw, anyway. Maybe turn the camera back and you'll see something. I did
I've
not
been
see
here
anybody
before.
else. Yeah. Maybe they just... Because you can even... It allows you to close the doors so that dudes can't follow you and stuff, too, right?
Yeah, but they don't have... There's not enough... They don't...
There's
There
not
aren't
enough
guys
AI.
randomly walking.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what caused that, but that was pretty engaging. I do wish they would do more of that. Like, there's benefits in learning the level, but improvising is very important.
Right.
And going through it your first time is the best time, when you are actually terrified of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that's why I've taken my fucking sweet ass time to know what the fuck is going on, because
Yeah.
yeah, I freak the fuck out at pretty much any corner, and I don't trust those fucking notes on the ground for shit. Yeah,
Maybe
what
they
the
do
hell?
want
I
you to
don't
beat a
know.
boss.
Okay.
They might. I could believe that.
Well, when you kill your first boss is when you get your first insight or whatever, right?
Maybe. Is that how you get insight? Is from killing bosses? I haven't figured out
That's-
exactly what grants it to you.
Yeah, that's what. Like I said, I was reading up on some of that stuff today, because I was like, I figured I might as well look up some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the stories on Polygon, I think, was going over insight and how you get insight. I want to
Sure.
say it's from getting enemies.
I would believe that
I mean,
because
enemies.
insight
Bosses.
from bosses. Yeah, insight
Yeah.
is built to be like humanity
Okay.
or your body, and that's how it worked. And what was weird about it in those games too
Mhm.
is that you could sometimes get it from a random enemy. It was like a global 1% chance or something. Which makes it confusing because it's not. They don't have good feedback on when you get it.
Right.
You just look over and you're like, oh, I have more. Why? I don't know. Seriously, dude. Not that attack. Fine. I'm like waiting for him
Yeah.
so I can parry his attacks.
Oh! God damn, dude.
Oh yeah, sure, go ahead. I'm surprised that they do it. They'll set it up. I'm pretty sure they did. There's a random timer in between when they attack, right? Like you get in range and he's like, okay, AI triggered. Set a random timer for when I start my next attack.
Yeah.
And it's set at a distance that it's an acceptable rate of attacking when there's a group of like 2 to 4.
Yeah.
But it
Well-
can cause situations when you're one-on-one and you're waiting for a guy that they look stupid.
Yeah.
So one thing, like you can increase it if it's one-on-one and you're like, oh, we don't need to wait, just go, just attack much faster.
It's crazy to hear you explain this stuff the way you do, man, because it makes me feel that when you play it, you absolutely play this game as a designer, as opposed to like someone who's like as a player. You know what I mean?
You don't turn that stuff off. So
Yeah.
it's like I'm playing it and I'm
Nice.
trying to feel it as a player would,
Mhm.
and then analyzing how I'm thinking at the same time.
Yeah.
So like, you've watched
Oh,
people
shit.
play your game, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, they're feeling this, and you stick your fist in your mouth because you can't say anything to ruin the playtest.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But you're always trying to read their emotions and like how you can be doing it better.
Nice.
How did he get up?
Wow.
Seriously. See, that's like not good enough timing, which is very strange to me.
Yeah. Like,
But
do
he's
you
not-
really have to risk it then? I guess right as he's about to attack. Nope.
I don't
even
know
that,
if that's
fuck.
what's up.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some stat thing that's going on. I don't remember these windows being so hard. Like that.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that looked right on to me.
That one might have been a bit late, but usually they don't penalize you for being late other than you get hit.
Yeah, see, that's where the camera becomes a fucking issue, man.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It does. And it's one of those things where like it's all consistent within its system. Like it can still be a game where it makes stuff like, oh, that just makes corners really dangerous spots, so do your fighting out in the walls. And that's like part of the game. Like the way that games with bad controls can still work if they're tight around that. Like if they're built understanding that their controls are bad,
Yeah.
it can still work because you're just planning everything because you know the game's not going to respond for a second after you push the button.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the sort of thing that should be better.
Well, so that's what I was saying about how like someone, you know, coming into this thinking it's like all Shadow Mordor, Batman kind of action game, would probably see this game. You know, they'll jump in and they'll like, why are my attacks so slow? Why am I missing? Why am I doing this? And it's because the game is built that way. It's for you to like deliberately know what you're attacking with and how fast you're attacking and stuff.
Yeah, it's an older style of game.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
boy, I really did that then.
Nice.
And I think there's virtue in it. Like I was saying, I prefer this type of action. I wouldn't mind if the camera was fixed.
Yeah.
But it's like what they did is the camera does almost nothing on its own. Like if I'm not hitting the right stick at all, there's situations where it will slowly go behind the character.
Right.
But it will take it a long time to do that because it doesn't want to move automatically and screw you up.
Yeah. So like right
And
there, are you moving it at all? Or
No,
is it moving on its own?
I'm done. So
Ah, okay.
and so the gentler you move it,
Right.
I've had to program 3D camera systems before, and they're so obnoxious.
jeez.
But the gentler the angle of the character, the more you can have the camera move to follow it, because the more the game assumes you're just kind of walking along a path. Like if you're walking on a road and it shifts a little bit and a little bit, sure, have the camera automatically track the character. But if the character turns around, they're probably doing like an action thing. And so it's not appropriate for the camera to turn because you're within a framed scene.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'll take a long time before it actually decides to rotate and get behind the character again.
Yeah, so if you were to design the camera here, like, say, like this area right here, right, and you jump in,
Yeah.
there's two guys that are, like, on opposite sides, would you just pull the camera back and just maybe kind of, like
Yeah,
stick
you
there?
Like you'd see a thing where you set the camera at an angle like this, and then it just tracks along the side. That requires custom programming for like every area, and it's inconsistent.
Right. Okay.
There's got to be a moment. There's got to be a moment where it flips. Like you can see all these decisions happening if you play Super Mario 64, because that's their first 3D game, and most of the game Nintendo sets the camera angle.
Yeah.
But it creates those awkward moments where the camera switches. And you're not ready for the camera to switch, and you're trying to move the camera, and they're like, no, you can't move the camera in this scene.
Right.
And it's like they've decided this is a good place for the camera to be, but you don't agree with them.
Yeah.
And it's tough because sometimes you have that control and sometimes you don't. And by the time of Super Mario Sunshine, they just let you move the camera. They made the camera a lot dumber.
Yeah, it's like, what was it? I'm trying to think of what game it was that did camera movement like that. Because I didn't play much of Super Mario 64 because at that time I didn't have a Nintendo 64, but I did play some of it at a friend's house, and I wasn't honestly a big fan of that game. I didn't like the 3D Mario games like that.
Yeah.
But I did notice immediately that the camera was all fucking janky and weird.
Yeah.
Like immediately. Oh, well, yeah, because you jump from something like, like Resident Evil where they have deliberate camera, stuck in different situations. And then you get something like, what was it? Resident Evil 4, where they finally let you move the camera, but you're still not in control of aiming it or anything like that.
Well, in Resident Evil 4, what they did is they locked the camera to your shoulders, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It was much closer to a normal third-person game.
Nice, dude! Fucking nice! Wow.
See, that screwed me. I had no stamina left, so I tried to attack. And they don't have good feedback for when you're low on stamina, which turns it into a situation where if you're getting there, you just need to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Like there's no kind of like a flash on the screen or even like to get your attention that your stamina is low. Is this a boss? Oh shit.
Boss. This is probably not going to happen. Okay, that's echoing.
Oh, okay. Shit, sorry. Give me a second.
It's so loud.
Sorry, dude. Is that better?
It's not bothering me, but I'm assuming it's screwing up your echo or your podcast.
No. Actually, the capture device I have. Oh fuck. The capture device I have is actually pretty rad.
Okay.
So it lets you like equalize the volume pretty well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But no,
So
it was good volume on my side. I just wasn't sure if it was echoing. I turned off my TV because sometimes the sync of the the TV to what's being fed into the capture device is off a little, and that creates that echo.
And look at that, you can get it now.
Oh, hell yeah! Okay.
Right after I left all my souls in the area.
Right. So you so you lost all your souls to that boss. If you go back, will that boss have them, or will it be like on the ground? I guess
it should be on the ground, but it'll be on the ground inside the boss arena.
Okay, so you can't go back and get them without pretty much activating the boss.
Right.
Okay.
There's an item that you can get that lets you warp out and keep your souls or your blood, but I don't have any of those.
Okay.
So they actually grabbed the voice actor. All these games have a female character that levels you up.
Mm-hmm.
But they brought back the voice actor they used from Demon Souls. With her like weird Slavic accent.
Huh.
And they do
blood
thematic
echoes, that's what
stuff.
they're called. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Demon Souls, she's like a priest that keeps the great demon sealed, and she's blinded by like wax over her eyes.
Oh wow.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
And like when you level up, because the theme of all these games is that the more powerful you get, the more monstrous you are.
Mm-hmm.
So in Demon Souls, you demons are just like beings who have used the souls of other creatures to become powerful. So every time you level up, it's using souls, and she's like, then touch the demon inside me, which is super creepy.
Wow.
In the same way that I think this game is implying that you're becoming more.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
echoes
Yeah.
become strength.
Makes sense.
I mean, that's not a great line because it doesn't read what it is, but like I think the assumption is that you're injecting yourself with blood of beasts to become stronger.
Ah. Oh, okay. So wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So then I can buy more stamina. You can buy straight HP, and then these will be like, when you raise this, you'll see your damage go up if you have a weapon that uses damage to modify its strength.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll also, some weapons just have stat minimums.
So how do you know if like that, like if your strength will affect the strength of your weapon?
In that interface,
Mm-hmm.
so in the middle column here, let's see if I can move the cursor over there. Yeah, these ones. See how it says 80 and then there's an arrow and then another 80?
Right.
If I were to increase it and it were to increase that weapon, it would show that number going up.
Okay.
Yeah. So that right column is a stat comparison. So like when you increase it, every point I put into vitality, I get something like 20 HP.
Okay. And how much does each point cost? Is there a set amount, or is it
increasing scale?
Okay.
We generally use exponential scales so that we can accentuate the differences between areas.
Okay.
So if you're in the level 1 area and every enemy gives you like 10 experience, you get to the level 2 area and you're like, okay, well the enemy should give you 50% more experience. So everybody gives you 15. And then by the time you get to the 3rd area, you wouldn't say they give you another 5 experience because that's a smaller difference than it was to begin with. So instead of going from 15 to 20, you'd say, let's do another 50%. So it goes from 15 to like 22.5.
Ah, okay.
And then from
Fucking
there,
math, man.
So like that curve just keeps on going up and up.
Right.
In order to distinguish the areas from each other, and in order to that's what happens if you get a continuous rate of improvement. If all your improvement is like a set percentage, like it's always 20% better, it's always 50% better, your numbers are just going to escalate rapidly. And so that's why we do that instead of having like linear number upgrades.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Fuck that, dude.
You play with numbers and then you're like, oh,
absolutely.
I'm trapped in this. I'm trapped. I have to do it this way. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. Well,
I do like.
Ugh. No, go ahead, man.
I was just gonna say, I love how long and lean all the characters are in this game.
Yeah, totally. I love that too, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's something about the art style in this game that got me, where like Dark Souls and Demon Souls and that, like there was just something about, like, I'm not big into dragons or magic and stuff like that, so like
Sure.
that kind of aesthetic, like it just didn't do it for me, you know.
Sure.
I could see the gameplay and I could see how that was fun, but I just didn't see myself spending too much time in that like world.
Sure.
But for some reason, like this one, it just got me. I love that look. Yeah, like I don't know. Would you consider that steampunkish kind of? I don't even know if that's what it would be. It's just that Victorian like